It was around 5:30. It was a very hot day, so it was over 100 degrees. When we got here, Thebe and Jasir were sitting here at this rock near the shore. We were sitting more towards that side just to give them a little space and let them do what they were doing with the kids.
So, well, when we got here, one of them had a caterpillar on the back of their shirt, and she came over and took it off the back, and we said, "Oh, this is a poisonous gypsy moth," and she showed it to them and took it off, and they looked at us and smiled, like we smiled at them, and she ran over and said, "Mom, I saved them from the gypsy moth," and so they were just sitting, talking, looking at the river, and at that point I told them to come sit with us, and I was laying the blanket down. My friend was coming with her baby, who was only a month old at the time, and the girls wanted a snack, so I was getting out popcorn for them.
I found the two of them to be very polite and friendly people. Thebe especially, because I had more interaction with him than Jasir, because Jasir left to another university.
I met him at my first semester here at Western New England. We were both actually all three of us were in dynamics together, so we were involved with various group projects, and we sat next to each other, and after classes, if he had questions on stuff and the professor left, he would sit by with me and ask me, for help and stuff.
جاسر طبعا تعرفت عليه في واحدة من أصعب الكلاسات اللي أخذتها هنا بهذه الجامعة، اللي هو كلاس اسمه داينامكس. الكلاس هذا كان جدا صعب، وكنا أنا وياه تيم، اللي هو جروب، ندرس مع بعض ونسوي assignments وكل شيء.
كنا بالديرة ونعرف عائلة الدحام، بس ثيب وجاسر شخصياً تعرفت عليهم في أمريكا في جامعة هارتفورد. صارت بيننا أخوة وزمالة وصداقة، يعني أكثر من سنتين تقريباً، يعني كانوا مثل والله الأخوة عندي كلهم هنا، يعني الشباب كنا ندرس مع بعض، يعني نساعد بعض، نطلع مع بعض. كانوا يحبون الأماكن الطبيعية، يطلعون بالأماكن اللي مفتوحة، يعني مثل المكان هذا اللي احنا فيه وأماكن أخرى. كان ذيب على طول يحب يتصل علينا ويقول يلا مسوين نطلع طلعة في حديقة في مانشستر ونطبخ هناك ونسوي أكل زي الرحلة يعني. فكان يحب على طول نطلع، يعني مرة من المرات يعني طلعنا وكان الشتاء على الأبواب، وقلنا له ترى برد، قال عادي بنجيب حطب وبنولع لنا نار وما فيه يعني شيء يمنع ان احنا نطلع.
Their friend Sultan had told me that the meaning of their names, that Jasir meant brave and he meant wolf, and I just thought that was so amazing.
By all accounts, they were sitting down here enjoying the water and enjoying it. It was a beautiful day. It was warm. It was nice, nice summer day. And by all accounts, they were just kind of relaxing down here by the water.
Well, they were by themselves. They were just talking amongst themselves. Me and Anna were with the kids.
Jasir and Thebe were sitting near the river, but they were just talking. They weren't here to swim. They were in full clothes and had sneakers on, and they were just sitting, talking, almost like they just came to stop and enjoy nature. Our children were still, with their shirts on, and they were just about knee deep in the water, just throwing rocks, and the water was about up to their knees, and they were just picking up little rocks while they were standing on a bigger rock. They were suddenly swept off the rock, and my son said that the rock was slippery. His friend yelled for help, and when I had looked over, his friend had the back of his shirt and was trying to hold on to him, and my son was trying to swim them both in, and that immediately Jasir and Thebe jumped in and tried to help them. my son said that they were trying to help them get out, and they told my son to jump, like they were trying to help them get away from and closer to the shore, that they were jumping off to try and help them like get out of, like throw them out of the water.
I guess they opened the dam so it brought them out more towards over the middle of the river, so they couldn't stand anymore and reach the sand, so they needed help because they can't really swim that great. Thebe and Jasir ran in because they were very close to the boys, and me and Anna were over there more. So once they ran in, we tried to run in right after them to try and help too, and that's when everything happened.
The two Saudi Arabian students really showed what their character was. They disregarded their own safety to go in and try to help these young children here. So they definitely went above and beyond what you expect of the average citizen who's not a police officer or firefighter to risk their lives to go in and save somebody. So they definitely were heroes that day.
They were right there to help the boys. They saw them right at the shore. They were the first to notice. They ran right in with no hesitation.
Immediately, Jasir and Thebe, they pointed. I don't know if maybe they seen the whirlpool forming, because they pointed and said something in Arabic, and they both kind of went like, the boys were right here, they both like went around them, like they planned to go around, or like they, it sounded like they planned something before they approached the water, but it was very, very quickly. And I remember looking at my friend like, wow, look at these gentlemen, like they just jumped right in. I didn't have my glasses on, so I couldn't really see well. And she almost ran in with her baby, and she turned and gave me the baby and ran right in with her shoes and everything on. And the boys, before Jasir and Thebe got to them, were trying to swim in, and then Jasir and Thebe had, I believe, got them away from the whirlpool. Like they were trying to get them away from that area. I gave the baby to my daughter, and there was nothing I could bring to help us. We're in the forest. There's nothing to help. So I just ran right in, and immediately I was brought right to them. Like we were all kind of like sucked into one area.
And since they let the dam go, it made it a very more dangerous situation for everybody.
The girls, when we were struggling to get out of the water, when it was just me, Jen, and the two boys, Jen's youngest daughter was yelling to swim because she said we were going the wrong way, and I yelled to them, no matter what happens, do not come in this water. And I was just very grateful that my daughter was holding the baby and did not get into the water, and that she was smart enough to call 911.
911, this call is recorded. What is your emergency?
Two people are drowning in the water at the Red Bridge.
Okay, how many people are in the water?
There's about six people.
Okay. Okay, make sure you guys just stay out of the water, okay? How many kids are there with you?
There's only 2 kids, but there's 2 grown-ups that are drowning.
Okay. All right, you two just stay away from the...
Yeah, there's four people that are still alive. They have their heads up, but they can still breathe. They're swimming to us. They can swim. They're just 2 grown-ups drowning.
Okay. All right, just sit tight, stay out of the water, okay? We're on the way.
Okay.
Okay, everyone's coming, okay? Just sit tight, okay?
All right. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, sir. It was a fairly unremarkable shift that morning. I was assigned to Medic 2, which was the frontline ambulance. We were returning from a routine service call when we got dispatched for a report of people drowning, people in the water, unknown amount of swimmers.
We were on patrol working. We got a call for multiple people in the water at the canoe ramp here at the Red Bridge. We were told that there were at least 5 people in the water, and there were a few people that were unaccounted for.
We made the trailhead. It was about 150 yards from the parking area. We carried our equipment in. We arrived simultaneously with the police department. When we crested the hill at the swimming hole, I saw a mother about to go under the water, and I saw a child actively drowning under the water at a local swimming hole. So we responded as fast as we could.
Absolutely, it's a very deceiving river and a very deceiving area. There are 2 portions of the river that reconnect after having been divided for a hydro dam that produces. What ends up happening is as the river reconnects, which is right out here in the front, hydroelectricity. So you've got one branch to my left and one branch to the right over here. As they come together, they circle and they pool. And what ends up happening is it's a whirlpool effect. It makes a circle. And you can see it on the top of the water very well. You can see how the water where the 2 meet circles. And it acts as a vacuum, and it actually pulls down. This is a very dangerous spot to swim because of that effect. But then in addition to that, you have an undercurrent. So the water may look calm on the surface, but once you get underneath, it really pulls hard down and away from this area.
From when it happened until people came was about, I would say, 20 to 30 minutes. It was very hard. I could see my kids on the beach here because they were crying. I was trying to help my son, hold him afloat.
Jasser at that point he was getting like sucked into the whirlpool, and he was trying to grab to get out, and me and Thebe, he had like my arm, and we were able to get him above water, Thebe and I. And of course I didn't know their names at that point, but we were able to get him above water. But at that point I think he already had swallowed too much because he was struggling. And I pulled my son away from that area and pushed my friend's son, and she grabbed him. We were able to get away from that area where we were getting sucked into. And I looked at Jasser and Thebe and I said, "It's okay, just float on your back." And so I like gestured to float on your back because I wasn't sure if they understood us. And Thebe looked at my friend Jen and said, "You guys are good, go." Like he was trying to help Jasser to float. And I looked to help my son, and Jasser, he couldn't float because he had taken in water already.
I stayed on my back. It was very hard. I almost went under myself. I had to stay in the hospital for about a week. I had a heart attack. I had other complications, so it was very hard. I had to stay in the hospital for about a week and a half.
I seen my friend struggling, and they were drifting down the river, and I just kept yelling, "Don't give up, just keep floating, don't give up." And she was crying, like screaming out in like of exhaustion, and I saw that she was closer to the land over there, and I was yelling to swim to the other side, and she kept like going under, so she couldn't really hear me. But her son had heard me, and he like told his mom directed her to swim to the land, and they made it to the land. And when I seen them started to float down that way, I got scared that I didn't know what was down the other side of the river. I didn't know if there was, a waterfall or it dropped. So and after seeing them be swept down the river, I was afraid to go away from the shore. So I told my son to just swim as hard as he could, and while we were floating on our backs, and I just kept shoving him with my arm. Every time I felt him, I just shoved him as hard as he could and to try to get him to the land. And I thought even if he can just make it to the shore.
I noticed probably 5-10 minutes within that I saw them having a hard time staying afloat, but I had my son with me, so it was hard to, I wanted to help them, but I really couldn't because I already had my son with me. And everything happened very fast, so it was pretty hard.
Steve was trying to help him, but the current was pulling him down the river this way, and I saw they were getting closer over there, so I saw that they were having trouble floating on their back. I seen one of them, I did go, and then I was trying to make sure my son was okay and swimming, and I mean, at that point, I thought we all were gonna die, and I seen my friend, she was trying to help her son float at the same time, and we were all just struggling and for a long time. And my daughter, I said, did you call 911? She said, yes, they're asking me questions. I said, what are they asking me? They want to know where we are. So I just started screaming, we're at the Red Bridge, we're under the dam.
They came just to kayak, like to go around the river, but they wound up seeing us and tried to help, and they wound up struggling too. Like,
couldn't hear anything. Like I kind of started like drifting away mentally, and I heard the helicopter and kind of like snapped out of it, and I was like, oh my goodness, like looked to make sure my son was still there, and he was floating, and I asked if he was okay, and at that point I looked towards the shore, and I seen two men, and that's when I started screaming help that we're drowning, and one of them came in the water, and he couldn't get us out either. I told him to grab my son, he grabbed me, and we started floating by my son, so I grabbed onto my son, but we couldn't get past that one point in the river, and I told him that help, somebody called 911 and they should be coming. And then I heard the sirens, and I yelled to somebody to go to the parking lot so they knew where we were. All of a sudden there was like a swarm of rescue team from surrounding towns, and state police, I believe, was here as well, and they were asking us, you know, if there was anyone else in the water and do we know what happened to them. And I said, I seen one of them. I don't know if one of them, I was like, I'm hoping maybe he got out down further in the river, but I didn't see him. We were trying to survive and float ourselves and help our children. And I don't know how we made it out of there. I mean, it was very difficult. I'm just so grateful that we're all here. I don't know how we're alive.
He saved somebody's life and he lost his own life. And I think he's praiseworthy of that. And I conveyed this also to my wife some times ago, and she also started crying. And she said, you know, it's amazing that an individual can do something like that.
One of them came in with a kayak and tried he grabbed my son.
When I arrived, I saw two people in the water and two people half out of the water, half on land on an opposing side of the river. And they were motionless.
They asked if anyone else, and I said yes, and that my friend was, she got across to the other shore after just being like carried by the river with her son, and they were able to swim out and get onto the land over there.
I was able to jump in the kayak, and he was able to push me. I was able to paddle out, grab the mother, grab her son, and then paddle back to shore, where we made a second rescue effort for another mother and child who had made it to an adjacent bank.
And they told me to hold on to the back of the kayak, and he couldn't even row us in with the rows, with the oars. It was too strong, and they had to send another man in, and they roped the kayak, and a group of them pulled us in. It was very strong.
So when I paddled out in the kayak, I grabbed the child first, and when I grabbed the mother, her first words to me were, "There was two young men helping us, I can't find them. They disappeared under the water." So at that point, I rescued the mother and the son, got them back to shore, and then we initiated a search effort for the two young gentlemen that we eventually found later.
And after we started getting everybody into the shoreline, we were told that there were two folks that went into the water to try to help that went underwater and never surfaced again.
And then because I was holding onto the back, so they just kind of pulled us in, and I couldn't even lift my body. I was so weak.
We had searched for several hours. The first body was recovered within the area of where that whirlpool section is. Everybody that was swimming here, the people that had gone in the water, and the kayakers that had stopped, saw the two students that were out there and knew that they were on the surface at one point trying to help, and then they both went underwater and they never resurfaced again. So they were very good about providing us a description of what they had on for clothing, and we were able to at least identify one in the short term because their wallets were left on the shoreline. So we were able to know the name of one of the boys up front. Car that they drove here, information was able to be gained from the car, paperwork and documentation that had the other student's name on it. We ended up that evening, we called the search off at night because it was dark, and for divers and the boats it was dangerous. We started up the next morning. We searched this immediate area for four more additional hours during the day, and then a few days later what ended up happening is there's another dam further down the river, and he washed up along that dam.
الحقيقة كان الخبر يعني مزعج جدا. يعني السبت الصبح الساعة 7 الصبح عم بتشكل ايميل، كان في ايميل من الجامعة انه صار في حادث وطالبين مفقودين، وبنعتقد طلاب انه يكونوا طلابنا. ومعنا هالاسمين هدول، اعطوني الاسمين والاي دي. فاول اسم عرفته مباشرة ذيب.
أنا اتصل فيني شخص اسمه عبد الرحمن العامر، وقال أنا عندي خبر مو طيب، هذا ذيب وجاسر أعطوك عمرهم. قلت وش اللي صاير؟ قال يقولون يعني غرقوا في النهر.
كنت أسوق السيارة، عشوائيا مسكت جوالي وفتحت الإيميل، لقيت رسالة من الجامعة نفسها تقول إنه في واحد من الطلاب الأجانب توفى معنا في الجامعة. طبعا أنا وقتها قلبي فز، أقرأ في الجوال وأطالع شو كاتبين جاسر الله يرحمه.
الخبر عرفته طال عمرك وأنا في الرياض عن طريق واحد من عوالي، كان متواصل معهم لهم أكثر من 3 أيام ولا يردون عليه، وكان يراسلهم عن طريق الواتساب برضه ما ردوا. حس ولعلمني وتابع الوضع مع واحد من عواننا في أمريكا، واحتصلوا على الخبر وعلموني بعد 3 أيام من الحادثة.
بس بالبداية ما كنا نعرف شو السبب. بالبداية كنا نعرف انه كان هو واصحابه عم يسبحوا، وكان في معهم على بورد غرقوا. فكنا يعني معقولة كيف بيطلعوا على بورد 7-8؟ مع الوقت عرفنا انه لا، ما كانوا على بورد، كانوا عم يسبحوا. بعدين عرفنا انه كان معهم اولاد وكانوا عم يحاولوا ينقذوا الاولاد. بعدين عرفنا الحقيقة.
أنت بتسمع كلام من واجد، وكل واحد بيسمع في مثل هذه الأمور، لكن الحمد لله أن قابلنا المعنيين في الموضوع.
In my opinion, prior to the fire department, I worked for the United States Coast Guard. I have a very detailed background in water rescue. And the reason we were able to rescue that mother and son was because of these two young gentlemen holding them above the water and then making the difficult decision to drag the mother and child down where everyone would die, or they made the choice to let go and they were pulled under, sacrificing themselves.
And eventually those kids just did the supreme sacrifice, and that is to give their life for the sake of someone else's life.
It was an exceptional moment where normal people became extraordinary, rescuers. And the only reason we could make that rescue and these children could live was because of their sacrifice.
Your sons were great human beings. They did good work that day, and they were heroes. You should be proud.
The family should be proud of having had those kind of children, raising those kind of children.
Sister of these two young men, I would say, we had two wonderful young people in our family. They did the right thing at the right time.
I have the honor to present the family of Jasser Al-Raka for his degree, Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering.
All I can say is I'm grateful for the rest of my life for what they did. They've really helped for our sake anyways, and I'm very sorry for what happened to their sons or their nephews.
If they didn't jump in, because we didn't see what was going on fast enough, if they hadn't jumped in, our sons might have been sucked into the whirlpool.
They were caring, they were careful about what they were seeing. They took action. They didn't meditate. They didn't stand off to the side. They tried to do the right thing, and they did do the right thing.
I feel like their spirits helped us keep us floating.
It's refreshing. It's refreshing to see that. Most people nowadays pull out their cell phone. They don't spring into action. They stand by. So it was renewed my faith in humanity to see these actions.
It's terrible that happened to them, and I wish we all were saved and could be talking about it all together, and met our families that way and got to know them better. But from all that we've heard, I've spoken to their friends, and we didn't need to hear from other people. We could just tell that they were amazing men